In extraordinary circumstances, Queenslanders today learned their state election will be held on the 24th of March. It came after the state's flood inquiry announced it would reopen hearings into the management of Brisbane's Wivenhoe Dam last summer that saw the worst flooding of the city in a generation. The Premier, Anna Bligh, today declared that it was in the public interest to hold an election after the inquiry's final report is released, even though it means moving the previously fixed date for local elections. For nearly 2 uninterrupted decades, Labor has held power in Queensland, and polls suggest Anna Bligh will struggle to retain government against her Liberal National Party opposition, led by Campbell Newman. We'll hear from both of them shortly, but first, this report from John Taylor.
Saturating rain, flash flooding, emergency crews on alert. Nature is again buffeting southeast Queensland. Weather, politics, the past and the future today all came together in extraordinary and strange circumstances.
I am acting here in the interests of Queenslanders, not in the interests of myself or my party or the government.
Today's announcement of this election by Premier Anna Bligh is not actually about the people of Queensland, it's about the Australian Labor Party.
Queensland has 3-year non-fixed parliamentary terms. The election date changes every time. Anna Bligh today broke new ground, setting the election for the 24th of March, nearly 3 years exactly since the last one. But the campaign doesn't officially begin now. That'll happen in the middle of February. And local government elections, which were fixed for late March, are now being delayed. It's unprecedented.
I don't believe that Queenslanders should go to the election, vote for a candidate at a mayoral, a local council or a state level who they may find ultimately is the subject of an adverse finding by a commission of inquiry. I think a voter would be rightly unhappy about that and feel cheated.
Ostensibly why it's all happening is the decision by the Queensland Floods Commission to reopen hearings, just weeks ahead of when it was supposed to release its final report. For the past year, its job has been to examine the unprecedented flood disaster that affected 70% of the state, saw Grantham devastated, and Brisbane endure its worst flood in decades.
Oh, it's just, it's unbelievable, isn't it? It's just so surreal, it's just incredible.
But the functioning at the time of Brisbane's major dam, Wivenhoe, has been brought into fresh question by a series of reports in the Australian newspaper.
My family and the people I love all live in this city, and like every other Queenslander, I want the truth. This commission was set up to establish that truth. I'm not afraid of that truth, and I believe every flood victim deserves that truth.
The big question is whether the operators of Brisbane's Wivenhoe Dam mismanaged the crisis and made a natural disaster even worse. They were cleared by the Flood Commission's interim report released months ago. But over the past few days, emails have been published that suggest that the Commission was misled. And so the Commission has reopened hearings.
To have it recall is letting me know and the rest of Queensland know that something's wrong somewhere in regards to the evidence that was given.
Paul Pasali is the mayor of Ipswich near Brisbane. His community was devastated last year and he wants answers.
The main focus for us was the dam, the operation of the dam and how it affected our city and that of Brisbane. And what's happened now, what it's done is actually put a massive grey cloud and over the evidence that was given compared to the email. So when that contradicts itself, it only leads to one thing. Someone has either misled the Commission or misled the government, and we need to get to the bottom of it because we're not going to have any closure.
But the campaign is going to be about more than just last year's floods. Anna Bligh has been Australia's first woman elected Premier since 2009, but for roughly all but 2 of the last 23 years, Labor has held power. The legacy of longevity isn't all positive. A health department seemingly in perpetual crisis. A former minister jailed for corruption, controversial asset sales. The Liberal National Party need to win just 14 seats on a uniform swing of about 4.5% to take government.
The polls are all pointing to a change of government. The Labor Party had a bit of a boost early in 2011 with the Premier's handling of the floods crisis. But once Campbell Newman became leader, the yawning gap between the LNP and the Labor vote reopened, and you'd have to put money on the LNP winning the election.
There'll be a number of issues that people will consider in this election campaign. Right at the top of my list will be how we harness the very bright prospects that we have coming down our path economically. How we make sure we manage Queensland for all of us, not just for some of us. How we make sure, for example, that our mining royalties can be distributed in a way that benefit every Queenslander. That's why I'll be putting education right at the top of my tree. I'll also be looking at how we protect our environment so that we protect our lifestyle as we grow into a bigger state.
This contest has been strange for quite a while. While he was still a popular Lord Mayor of Brisbane and not even a Member of Parliament, Campbell Newman became the state Liberal National Party leader.
I'm prepared to sacrifice what I've been doing in Brisbane City to actually look after the people of Queensland. I'm so passionate about Queensland. I want to get Queensland back on track.
In March, the electorate will decide if the move was audacious or foolish.
We've said how we will reduce the cost of living for families by cutting government waste and inefficiency. We will tackle and stimulate a four-pillar economy in Queensland: mining, tourism, agriculture and construction. We'll make sure that we revitalise frontline services like nurses and doctors and firefighters, police on the beat. We're going to make sure that we do better planning, deliver better infrastructure. And finally, and most importantly, we will restore people's faith in government in Queensland.
And this is an election contest that will be ruled largely by what happens in Brisbane.
Since 1992, 1989, the Labor Party has had a lock on Brisbane. Labor currently holds 34 of the 40 seats in what you can define as Greater Brisbane, from Caboolture to Beenleigh, west to Ipswich. That is where the election is going to be decided, and importantly, Campbell Newman is the first Brisbane-based leader of Conservative politics in Queensland in a century.
This is all new territory. An election date, but Parliament is yet to be dissolved. A party led by someone not even in Parliament, a commission of inquiry reopening hearings.
So I say to you, we are ready to fight this campaign. We have a strong, united team. They're ready to campaign. They're not worried about an 8-week campaign, so be it.
There's no doubt that the 2012 election is going to be a very, very fierce contest. I understand that I'm in for the fight of my life and I intend to give it that.